Let's check on Nvidia shares on the back of all those announcements that Jensen Huang made at CES. Now, initially, the shares rose in advance of his comments yesterday to a record, as Josh mentioned earlier. But since then, they have come down in today's session. And now they're right around the lows of the day, Josh. And this isn't that unusual, I guess, for Nvidia to sort of rally and then fall and then rally and then fall. So we're seeing a similar pattern.
Yeah, shares, I think, actually opened higher today, too. They were at least higher in the pre-market, Julie. And then, I mean, you take a look at this drawdown, and Nvidia, as big of a stock as it is, and we've talked a lot about it driving the market, right? And it's this massive company now. It's overpassed Apple and teeter-totter with Apple and Microsoft for the largest company in the world. It's still a pretty volatile stock to some extent. So to see it down 6% isn't, I guess, as eye-popping as it would maybe be when you see an Apple down 6% as they're making announcements. I don't know. I feel like at some point this stock has had meme-like features to it at times where it doesn't shock me as much when we see these big swings with it. But I think overall, I mean, it doesn't seem like there was much out of the actual news in the last 24 hours that I've seen any type of analyst commentary on or anything where people are actually concerned about what it means for the future for NVIDIA. It hasn't seemed like there's a lot of outspoken disappointment by what we heard from Jensen Huang at CES.
Well, and as the analysts over at Stifel pointed out, the announcements are significant but long-tailed. In other words, it's not something that is going to necessarily affect the bottom line or the top line, for that matter, at NVIDIA this year. It's more like the longer-term vision from Jensen Huang and what that's going to mean for the company. And as we know, investors are pretty short-termist when it comes to this stuff. But right now, the stock is down. I mean, even though, yes, we have seen it be volatile at times. I was looking back. It's fallen the most now since September 3rd. On that day, the company got subpoenas from the Justice Department in an antitrust probe, to just by a point of comparison.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll bring up, Julie, it reminds me a little bit of another company that talks about autonomous cars a lot and how that doesn't usually move the needle for it, right? I think for the investor story, Jensen Huang made a great pitch there, or Dan Howie there, talking about, well, if autonomous cars is a $5 billion business now, imagine when there's $100 million self-driving, or 100 million self-driving cars, how that business grows. Your head can get there. I think I'm just still sitting here wondering, when does that happen? Right. And it doesn't feel like we're in 2025 now. It doesn't feel like that's a 2026 story or a 2027 story. So when is it coming? And it's a little bit of wait and see, I think, and investors maybe get slightly impatient. I don't know.